Just right. So, can I be honest with you?
Please.
Okay. The first 15 minutes of the movie, I was so mad. I was like, "Is this another Manic Pixie Dream Girl thing?" And then when you did the reveal, I was like, "Oh, thank you, God." And my brother was in a bipolar. Really, he's not bipolar. His girlfriend was bipolar, and I had such a hard time understanding the relationship and being supportive. I felt like an evil stepsister at the end of this movie. I was like, "Why didn't I get it?" And I thought that you did such a really good job of exploring mental health issues and what it's like to be in a relationship like that. Was that your goal from the beginning, or was that something that just kind of came about as you were developing? I know it took you 5 years to develop the script.
Oh, I mean, that's such a lovely question. Thanks. And no, I mean, for the record, I hope everyone's as honest as possible always, you know? And that would be I'm not that interested in like the cute pixie thing. No, I don't think that I think I developed the script on and off actually longer than that, to be honest, just in terms of like the trajectory of it. Met her about 5 years ago and then him about 3, I think. It was really important to me that was done respectfully and that enough preparation and research and clinical overseeing, dealt with it in a way that was respectful and as truthful as we could get to. I mean, it's a film. It's still a film. Like, I don't watch Saving Private Ryan and pretend I know what it's like to be on the beach in Normandy just because it's a very visceral way of shooting something. And I think it's important to say we don't cure diseases in this industry. We have a privilege to do this job we love. And if this film, like what you just said, means so much to me, I really appreciate it. And it was very important to me that was handled with respect and love and a lot of work to be as truthful as we could. But the only thing I guess I set out to do by the end of it was, it's cheesy, but it really becomes, after you work on it on such a, for so long, it really becomes a thing of just Nikki and Emily. It's not about anything else to me other than just Nikki and Emily, and I love them, and obviously now that people I love in real life played them, it's a very emotional, intense thing, but it's just the thing you owe them, and then I guess through, that process, you hopefully deal with all that.
For you guys, this is one of the most emotional films I've ever seen. It spoke to me on a very deep level. Having a real life relationship, does that make it more difficult to portray some of these darker moments on screen, or do you think it makes it easier because you have that sort of connection with each other?
There's a certain level of trust because you're going to very dark places, and we shot it in 16 days, so we had to drop in very quick into those places, and so we trust each other, and I think we respect each other as actors, and so the relationship definitely did help. Even though Nikki and Emily are so alien and different to us as people, and very different to our relationship, the relationship helped in the working environment as actors. Yes.
Yeah, but specifically, we were talking about it before, that last scene on the bench. It was just a difficult scene to get to for a lot of reasons. And I think there was a lot of pressure on that scene to be something or whatever. We just didn't know what it was even going to be. But I felt so supported by Tom because he understood what we were going. We both understood what we were going through.
Well, we'd rehearsed it one way, hadn't we?
One entire different way, and we didn't even talk about it, but it just didn't feel right.
No. So I just got on my knees in front of Tat and was like, right, we're just going to go to this place. We're just going to go deep.
Yeah.
Now we're going to be there. And we just started talking to each other.
We weren't even we were just talking in character. Just improvising and just sort of vamping. And Joey and Bobby to his
I ran
credit,
over to Bobby and said, start fucking shooting.
And he's the DP who could have been well, this is the darkest scene ever, and it's not lit for this.
I've just lit for 10 minutes for thing.
What? Why? But everybody was up for it. So not only does it help to be in a relationship with Tom and get to go to all those places and feel safe there, but Joey being one of our best friends and Bobby being one of our best friends and such an artist, and everybody on the crew, focus puller, props guys, everyone was up for it and supportive of the process.
No judgment whatsoever.
No, and their process was just as integral. It was really awesome. It was really awesome.
Yeah, it felt very safe environment to expose yourself, because it's a very naked film.
Yeah.
It's a very human film, and it's a very raw film. So very vulnerable. So it felt nice to be able to be in an environment where we could dance in that vulnerability.
Your energy is so high during those manic phases. How were you able to keep that sort of like manic energy? I mean, it's not necessarily you're running around or anything, but you have to keep it so high. I mean, as an actress, how do you do that?
I don't know. I don't know. There was just talked about it a lot, and I think we got to shoot that sequence from the painting to the break in sequence.
Okay.
So that really helped in terms of like pitching it and sort of ramping up into it and allowing it to grow. And then it is just sort of, it's a real trip as an actor to get to go there. You're so often, I think, as an actor, afraid to be big or afraid to be too expressive or too loud or too high or whatever. There's such a fear, I think, in our world too, in our society, of emotion and of the largeness of our emotions. We all like don't want to care. We don't want to show that we care. So it was really freeing to get to just feel that large. I don't know how we got there. I don't know what it was, but it was a nice, like the actors I was working with are incredible, and we'd been doing so much work already. We were just all in it. So whatever that was, it just happened. But there was just a real, like, again, just a safety net there. It was just very safe to
I've also
do it.
never worked with an actor before who has such a machine and an energy as Tat does. The capacity to keep going. I mean, she does a show where she works the most insane schedule you can possibly imagine, and does it with such energy and passion and hunger. Like she's unrelenting, and it's extraordinary to be. It's like a force of nature, you know. It's extraordinary to be around. It's a privilege.
So within Orphan Black, you get to play all these different kinds of characters, and a lot of times you hear actors say, like, well, I look for variety. So, like, you get a variety in the show. When you're looking for roles that you want to do in film, what is the driving force become? What motivates your choices?
Something I've not done before, something that turns me on the first read. You know, this script, I was like, I don't know what it even is about it, but it was just so unusual to me. I'd never read anything like it. It was so, this beautiful mix of abstract and very concrete, of, you know, huge emotions, huge things that these characters are dealing with, and kind of, but, and also getting to work opposite Tom was a huge pull, and getting to working with Joey. You know, people who I respect and who I admire their thoughts about the work, and whose work I admire, and like that's what turns me on, is like the chemistry between a group of people who want to create something together.
How did you guys all meet? Because you mentioned being friends for a while.
Well,
Yeah.
we became friends through the project. It just takes a while to make a film, and you just become friends. Like, we were in a movie in Toronto together maybe 4.5 years ago, and I heard about a film she'd done, and there's just something about her. She just had this energy. I hadn't seen any of her work yet, but she was just really intriguing to me, and we were just talking on set, making weird jokes about, like, I just kept on saying, like we were at a bar, and I was just like, I'll get the Danish and the 3.25% milk, and I just kept on saying it. It wasn't funny, and I just kept on doing it, and she was just like, I'm all right with you, dude. And I was like, this is nice.
I think I said, like, what if they panned to me and I just had my finger in my belly button and was just looking at it, and you were like, you're like me, and then we just had like
Literally.
yeah.
and I come from a family. I have a really nice family who are funny and special and weird, and I guess my friends have always been similar to that. And then I saw the film she was in, people were talking about, and I was like, here's my script if you want
Which
it.
film was that?
Grown Up Movie Star. She was just wonderful in it. Maybe I hadn't watched it yet before I asked her to read it or something like that. We ended up meeting, and I offered it to her, and she said yes. And then we did my first short together. I wrote it and directed it and did it with her, and I acted in it with her. And Tom came to visit her when we were shooting, and I'd seen Weekend, was obsessed with him and that movie, and like, just that movie meant so much to me and the work in it. And so I started writing it for him. I told her I was doing that, but didn't tell him, and maybe I guess she told him I was doing that. And then it's just like, sometimes we just would not at all talk about the movie and just be friends. We both watch soccer together, you know, like truly, like
Yeah.
it started from we were going to do this thing together, but it just became like I think more often than not, we wouldn't really talk about it. You know, it's almost that elephant in the room because it's so hard to make a movie. Like, I didn't really feel like talking about it because
All the time.
maybe I'd left it for 6 months and not even looked at it. And then, same with Bobby. You know, we first time we ever met, we sat and had a beer in Formosa Cafe in Los Angeles and talked about the script. But he's been one of my best buds for like 8 years or something. And then just, over time I found the producer that made sense to me and was right for me, and then everything was there to push it.
Real quick, I know we're running out of time, but what was the inspiration for Nikki's wardrobe? It was kind of like a 50s greaser feel to it, and I really dug it.
I want to say a really quick thing, but then I'm going to let him answer that. I'm so proud of that in the movie. I forgot to tell you that people from The Orchard, this cool company, were talking to me about, so many people said such exciting things to me about that wardrobe. And I think it's beautiful because there's so much exposition, there's so much character, it's so specific.
Yeah.
My idea was much more banal. And I was just like, this guy hasn't bought clothes in 5 years. He doesn't care. He's just got t-shirts with rips in it, and it's all just grays and blacks and whatever. And he was working on a show, so we had no time. Like, he probably emailed me like 4 days before he was arriving, and he sent me all these photos that were completely different than the way I saw it. So the first reaction was just like, oh. And then he kind of described, and I can let him talk about it much more, but just like why Nikki would dress like that. I thought it was such a beautiful reason what he said. And so then from that point, it was like, no question. And then him and the lovely wardrobe designer, costume designer, Anya Tarabulzi, they just worked together. We wardrobed the day before we started shooting. The first time I saw that shirt was the day before. And I have to be honest, I was like, in my mind, I was like, that's pushing a bit past the images he sent me. And then he really liked it, and she really liked it. And I just felt like, it's your character, you get to have that. But it was his design, and I just think it's like so exciting when shit like that happens.
What was the reasoning?
The reasoning is that Nikki was somebody who doesn't quite fit into the world, and after he lost his brother, without any answers, I think he has a huge sense of anger and sorry, I'm very tired. Anger and he feels like there's a huge lack of justice in his life. And something happens when you lose somebody, in my experience, is that the day after you walk out into the street and you don't understand why the rest of the world isn't breathing. And you're so angry. You're so full of hate that everyone else can get on with their days and be happy. And it's if somebody's pressed the pause button on Nicky. He is so trapped in his feminine anger and grief and guilt, and he looks at that event changed the way that he looks at the world. The world is not the same colour anymore, and he looks at the way that normal people get on their jobs and do their things, and he doesn't understand it. He doesn't fit in, and he's kind of given up on life, and the only reason he's staying alive is so that his mum doesn't lose another person, because that would be too painful. And so he kind of just goes, fuck it, and he wants to be the person that he wants to be. He wants to almost insult people the way that he dresses. He everything he does is aggressive. He doesn't understand the system, and he is resentful of the system, and that is a physical manifestation of that, is the way that he dresses. It's like the other thing I wanted to play with was it's like in nature you have animals who are prey and animals who are predators, and often prey disguise themselves as predators to warn people off from going anywhere near them. So, like, don't fucking go anywhere near me, motherfucker, because I'm a scary fucking arsehole. And actually underneath, he's a very damaged man. And so for Nicky, that was what that was. He wanted to scare the shit out of people, and he wanted people to look at him and not really know how to talk to him. And it's like hanging a huge warning sign around his neck. The guy has one friend, he's a troubled guy, and so that's what that was. And so I looked at a lot of like punk and a lot of guys from the UK who are real who were anti-establishment, who were holding a big fuck you to the world at a time of political vulnerability, and I took a lot of influences from that. And it was really fun, and I think it's exposition in its context without necessarily it having to be on the page.
It reads.
It's good storytelling,
It reads really
and
well.
it was a beautiful idea, yeah. And I hope you don't mind me saying this, but the tattoos were his idea too. That was not in the
The
script.
unicorn
All
tattoo.
of those,
Yeah, the neck
but not
tattoo.
just that. Also the date.
Oh,
that
really?
that was not in the script, and it's so lovely for that scene for you to be able to have something to say. What is that? It used to just be, tell me something, Nick. Tell me something you haven't told me yet, which I think is an idea that isn't as playable for you guys. It's having that thing to play with. So it was just, it brought things to the table that weren't on the page that were so beautiful and so full, and just laden with information. And to me, like as a filmmaker, into the future, I'd always like to be able to deal with story and plot in pure filmic terms if possible, and that I mean, both of them, like it's kind of nice I think for you guys not to know what's on the page and what's not, but they both, Brad and Bobby, just augmented aspects of the script that I didn't have on the page.
Joey was very kind. 'Cause can you imagine, like, your lead actor
Guys,
saying,
I'm
I want to
really
look
sorry,
like
but
that?
we have to wait for
Well, my
another
first
thing.
reaction was
So,
like,
guys, we got a car waiting. Oh,
okay,
No.
thank you very much.
Thank you guys so
Thank
much.
you.
so much, guys.
Tatiana, can you give us any teasers for next season of?
No.